Hi there, Sonia here. Welcome back to another episode of the Help I Am Artist podcast. Now, I love seeing artists succeed, and that's why I make this podcast. A podcast helping artists to create with confidence, work with impact, and understand the business of art. As artists, so much of what we do comes from within us. How we feel and what we think literally determines our steps. That is why I focus so much on the mindset behind good art. As artists, we need confidence and clarity as to what we do and why we create. If we want to make art with impact, bring that which is on the inside out with more power, we need to know how. How do we do this? And how do we reach our potential art audience with our work, and what tools can we use to communicate this? And can you get paid for your art, and how much can your art cost, and what can you charge? As artists, we need to realize that we're in business. We don't only make art when we feel like it, but we need to show up and go to work and make our art. In order to be successful, we need to see ourselves as more than just artists. We are businessmen and businesswomen. And in this Help I Am Artist podcast, I will help you do this. Let me start off with a story of Henk. Henk is a flamboyant man that lives in the village where I live in the Netherlands. He always looks so sharp, extremely extravagant. He has the hat and the tie, and it looks like he has just stepped out of another era. He has a large orange beard, and the tips of his moustache are meticulously waxed. Some time ago, I got to chat with Henk. He came to one of my open studios, and he shared that he was an artist. This didn't surprise me one bit, and he shared interesting ideas about art and about creativity. Our paths have crossed on various occasions, and every now and again I see Henk showing his work at art fairs, or I see him whizzing past me in the town that I live with his bicycle with a painting under his arms. I recently met him again while we were standing in the same aisle at my local grocer. I asked him how he was doing and how his art was going. He solemnly announced that he had given up on art. He had an entire attic full of paintings, but nobody wanted to buy them. When I asked him what he was making when he decided to stop painting, he said he was doing a bit of this and a bit of that, and that art was about making a statement, and he actually found it a compliment if people didn't like his art. I remember thinking, Henk, no wonder you're not selling your art. In all honesty, I could relate to Henk. Not that point that I didn't care and I found it a compliment if people didn't like my art. I wanted people to like my art. But there was a point that I too wanted to give up on my art. I had worked so hard on my art. I gave it all that I had, but I had seen so few results. Something was not working, and I had to find out why people were not looking at my art or buying my art. I set out on a quest. I started interviewing artists, I did research online, and I found some consistencies between the artists that seemed to sell their art successfully. My research has become the foundation of this Help I'm Artist podcast. I will share more about this in the episodes to come, but to start off with, I've written this 7-step artist success guide for you to download. At the end of the podcast, I will share with you how you can access it. This guide is a powerful system to get more eyes on your art and to help you start to sell it. It is a step-by-step plan that will help you wherever you are on your artist journey. Maybe you're just starting out, but you don't know where to start. Or maybe you've been creating for years and just like me or like Henk, have paintings flooding your attic, but not selling them, you're getting no eyes on your art, and you find it hard to make ends meet. Or maybe you've been selling successfully, but you've hit a dry spell, and you just can't seem to get past it. The times have changed, and what used to work in the past is just not so effective anymore. Wherever you are on this artist journey, the Artist Success Guide is there to help you. When you get specific and clear about what you do, you'll be able to connect that with the right audience, and invariably you'll start to get more eyes in your art and start to sell it. In this podcast, I will briefly go through what you can expect of the 7-step Artist Success Guide. Let's start with step 1. It's a wonderful step. It's all about discovering. It's about zooming out, discovering what is out there. What does this art world look like? What's the play field look like? Very often, where we live and what we've been exposed to and who we've been listening to determines how we see the art world. But the art world is rapidly changing. Internet has really changed the game. Former conventions have shifted and new rules apply. Whereas galleries used to dominate this closed and mysterious world, a new generation of artists are discovering all kinds of new and exciting opportunities to connect buyers with their art and invariably get more eyes on their art. Many independent artists are doing this successfully, making a substantial living doing what they love to do. But this shift can be quite overwhelming. And as you head towards the first step, you're going to push the status quo. This step and the assignments in the guide will help you discover the art world. This is a day of discovery. You will discover that you're not alone. There are many people doing all kinds of amazing things in different, new and exciting ways. This assignment will stretch your scope and enlarge your field of vision. Take the first step and get excited about your playing field. Now that you've spent time discovering what's possible and what's out there, step 2 is all about you. What defines who you are? What is it that you want to say or to communicate? And why are you making art? And why do you find that it's important to say what you have to say? Are you a jewelry designer, or a printmaker, or a sculptor, or a dancer? What is the reason that you're creating? What is your drive? If you're not sure about what you're doing and why you're doing or making your art, there's a good chance that other people will not get it at all. You'll not be able to communicate or articulate your art or your art message if you're not clear about what you're doing. You'll get lost and it'll be terribly overwhelming. The clearer you are, the more effective your art will be. In this Artist Success Guide, I will take you through questions that will help you put words to what defines you. Now you can stop right here, do these exercises, and you already will be a success. You've discovered what's out there, what the art world looks like. You know that you love to do art and why you make art, and you follow your passions and you express yourself through your art. And I think this is more than many artists have done, who actually work without intent or without focus. So hooray for you. These 2 steps will already launch you forward. And there's nothing wrong with just making art, the art that you love. This is first and foremost. But if you want to make an income and build up a career as a happy working artist, I'd like to challenge you to take the next step. In order to get more eyes on your art and actually make an income from your art, you need to ask, is your art marketable? Oei, there you have that word. Not very artistic or creative, but asking this question is essential. And this does not mean that you're selling your art or soul, but if you want to grow and get noticed, you need to take steps forward. It's time for you to think like an artist, and it is wisdom and a privilege to actually make money doing what you love to do. In my resource, 5 Things Successful Artists Get Right, you can find it on my website, I mentioned the story of Rembrandt. He is considered a great master in the arts, and he is admired worldwide. Did you know that Rembrandt joined the Tradesmen's Guild and not the Artists' Guild? He saw his artist as a business and worked hard to market and make his art marketable. Maybe you have to make concessions here and there. And as long as you're staying true to yourself and doing what you're passionate about, you'll stay on track. This takes me to step 3. In order to find out if your art is marketable, you need to get a better understanding of the art culture where you live. In step 1, we zoomed out. We had an overview. We discovered what the art world looked like in general. But in step 3, we're zooming in. We're looking at the art culture where you are. What genres of art are popular and are working? And what artists are getting the attention? And why? This is finding out and discerning the art culture. The answers to these questions will really help you to see what you have and the art that you make, whether it is going to sell successfully. You can do a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is a good exercise to find out the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats facing the art climate in your country, village, or city. I did a little SWOT analysis of the Netherlands, just so that you know how it works. The first is the strength of the art culture in the Netherlands. Well, art is usually appreciated and celebrated, and I'm so privileged to be able to live in this country where there's so many art museums, there's beautiful masters that you can visit, there are many art collectors, there's a real appreciation for art. But this brings me to the weakness. It's an oversaturated market. As you know, the Netherlands is rather small and there are too many artists in relation to collectors. There's a lot of focus on the old masters, but not so much support for those working in other mediums. And the education system is lacking sometimes in building solid foundations of the arts and in art marketing, for example. But the opportunities in the Netherlands, well, it's a small country. That's an opportunity in itself. You can drive through the Netherlands in one day. So there's a real coherency. There's a real accessibility in this nation. And we're part of the European Union. Our audience is internet savvy, and you can write internet courses or you can educate yourself online, and there's endless possibilities for art and artists out there using the World Wide Web. The threats facing the Netherlands. Well, there's a lot of noise out there. Our art audience is often lost as to what good art is. Often loud marketing campaigns influence our art buyers or our art seekers and are not always promoting the best art. This brings us to step number 4. It's D-Day. It's deciding. You can't do everything. And the more specific you get about what you're making and how you can articulate it, the clearer it'll be for your potential art buyer. When someone asks you what you do, what do you say? You say, oh, I create paintings, or like Henk, I make a bit of this and I make a bit of that. Or if you would say, I make large colorful paintings of female dancers using encaustic wax. If I was the owner of a large dance studio looking to invest in a painting for the entrance of my new dance auditorium, which one of these two descriptions would resonate with me more? The more specific we get, the better we'll be able to communicate what we do. The D-Day, deciding on what you're actually going to make. What are you selling? Are you only going to make originals, one-of-a-kind pieces, or are you going to print your work on merchandise, on canvas bags, or on coffee mugs? Are you going to take commissions, or are you going to show your work independently or in collaboration with other artists? Are you going to work in series? And what binds your collection together? Is there a subject or a color theme or a technique? What genre are you working in? Step 4 is all about getting specific. The exercises and the guides will help you put words to that what you're making. Maybe you're just starting out and you don't quite know what you're going to make. This exercise will help you to start thinking this way so that you can make important decisions down the road. Write down what you think that you'd like to sell. Just get your creative juices going. When you think of Van Gogh, what do you say? If you were to describe his work to somebody from outer space, how would you describe his work? Try to find words that describe a distinct style. Getting really clear about what you do will not only help you stay focused, but it will help you with these 5 things. Getting clear and precise about what you do will help you market your work more effectively. It'll help you connect with a specific interested audience. It will help you decide whether you do a commission or not. It will set you apart from other artists. And number 5, you'll become the go-to person in a certain genre or style. In a future podcast, I'll be sharing more about the importance of deciding and defining your style and the power of working in a certain niche. You've discovered what you like, who you are, and what you want to say. You've become more discerning about the art culture you live in, and you've decided what genre or style will best suit what you have to say. How can you connect your art now with your potential art audience? Who is this art buyer, and where can you find them? Step 5 is all about determining your audience. Who is this mysterious person? Maybe you are a textile designer or a textile artist, and you make handmade silk pillows. How are you going to sell these pillows, and to who? In what genre? What's the cost of the pillow to make? Time work? How custom made is it? And is it going to accommodate the salary, the income of a low, middle, or high segment client? Or maybe you're a jewelry designer. Do you work in semi-precious stones or only in the best gold or diamonds? Is your sculpture a one-off, or are you working in series, and can they be reproduced? This will determine the price, which determines your customer. Take time to think where your clients are, and where do they buy your art, and what are they willing to pay for it. Determine who your potential client is. Do they buy at the flea market, or at an art fair, or online, or at a gallery? Once you know who your potential customer is and where and how they buy art, you can start to take bold steps to connect with them. And that's what step 6 is all about, daring to take steps to connect with your ideal client. Now you know who you are and why you make your art. You know what you're going to make and who your potential art client is and where they buy their art. Now it's time to join the dots and start to connect your art with your potential art customer. Now remember, in order to get eyes on your art, you need to be eye-catching. If you are ready and your art is at a level you are happy, clear and confident about, then it's time for you to take steps not only out of your workspace, but probably outside of your comfort zone. It'll take courage. But let's imagine. Maybe you've determined you love to work big. You use bold colors and you are passionate about connecting people. You hate injustice and you lie awake about the inequality and you want to share this with the world. You know because of the scale and the quality of your work and your built-up reputation that you are catering for the high-end segment and that your buyer will not buy your $5,000 art piece on a whim at a flea market. They'll probably go through a dealer or carefully select your art online. They'll look for quality and for excellence and see buying your art as a piece of investment. Your client is probably of influence and wants to buy your art to make a statement that helps his or her philosophy on life. All these criteria determine how and where you'll connect with your ideal client. But a word of warning here in step number 6 about daring. You have to set realistic goals. Please be ready. Make sure that you can honor your words with quality and meet the expectations of your clients. If you're not quite ready, you want to use this exercise in step number 6 to get yourself ready. You have to dare to exercise patience. Dare to admit that you're not quite ready. Dare to wait. You can practice on the sidelines. You can look at other artists in your genre are doing. You can talk to them. You can call them up. You can learn from them. You can take notes and keep your eyes on the right artists and the right art. Maybe you need to dare to confront the fact that you're not ready. Your time will come, don't worry. There are all kinds of advantages when there are no eyes looking at you yet. Your anonymity is also a gift. You can work without the pressure. You can work in a greater freedom when no one is watching you, and you have the room to experiment, and that's when you'll grow quickly to find your style, to find your signature look, And you can fail graciously without people looking and writing critiques about you. You have to grow confidence and work on the quality so that you can produce your art with more consistency. It's one thing to dare and sell one painting, but you want a sustainable career as an artist, and you want to sell your work consistently. So dare to dream big and set systems in motion to grow your art business and start to get those eyes on your art, and you will get noticed. This brings me to step number 7. If you ask curators, gallery owners, or successful artists what the most important aspect is to making or selling their art, they would invariably, or most of them would say, it's all about relationships. The quality of an artist's relationships will actually influence the success of their art. In the Success Guide, I look at 3 relationships: the relationship the artist has with his or herself, the relationship that you have with potential buyers. Are you nurturing a relationship with potential buyers? Do they know where to find you? And then having a relationship with your support team. Do you have cheerleaders around you that are helping you and cheering you on when times are tough? People that inspire you, that know you, that understand you. So in step 7, we look at relationships, and the exercises in the guide to help you set these support team or this support base in motion. Last year I took a trip to Boise. I had the privilege to meet Rachel Tennelach, a contemporary landscape painter based in Boise, Idaho. Rachel hosted an open studio in the time that I was there, and it was wonderful to see her studio jam-packed with art enthusiasts. There was such a buzz about the place, people talking and excited, pointing and sharing experiences that her art provoked. This intrigued me. Why was she getting so many eyes on her art? And what could I learn from it? I could see that Rachel knew her stuff. She had received an art education and controlled her techniques and materials. Later I read that she graduated cum laude from Scripps College, California, and also later studied in Glasgow and in Florence, Italy. Rachel had a distinct, unique and recognizable style. She paints large local vistas and landscapes around the Treasure Valley area, which is close to Boise, Idaho in the USA. She uses colors that are distinct, and the impasto use of wax and oil paint gives her paintings a very special quality. I later heard that Rachel works consistently. Rachel set herself a challenge and painted a small painting every day for 2 consecutive years. The project was called the Tiny Expanse 365, and besides being very inspiring to see, she sells these paintings on Etsy, and was able to show these paintings and these processes and stories on her social media platforms, sparking engagement and conversation. Rachel collaborates with conservation organizations, supporting their efforts to preserve the land she paints and loves. Rachel has learned how to articulate and to communicate her art. She writes entertaining blogs and posts online and sends a regular newsletter. She takes her art seriously, she does the work, and she finds a way of juggling her busy schedule and raising a young family. I can tell that it's more than just doing her own thing in her studio. She has made very intentional steps, and I can see that it's paying off. Rachel has found ways in which she's diversified her art. When I visited her studio, I was not only spellbound by her very large works, but she had produced many products in various price ranges. Her paintings could be seen on scarves and postcards and fridge magnets and calendars, one of which I proudly took back with me to the Netherlands. I couldn't help but think of Hank. What if Hank would take these steps and apply them to his art? Last week I saw Hank again while I was writing my next article. As I looked out the window, I saw Hank hanging at the back of a garbage truck. Ever so stylish, I must admit, curled moustache and all. I appreciate that Hank is doing whatever it takes, and of course I know nothing about his private life, but when I see Hank, I suspect he would rather be painting, It's stories like Hank that really get me riled up. This is the reason that I'm making these podcasts and writing these resources and making these guides, so that Hank, or maybe you, can get up or get back to making your art and do it successfully. When you get very specific and clear about what you do, you'll not only be able to connect with the right audience, but inevitably you will get more eyes on your art. If you would consider these questions and take the time to work through the 7-day study guide, I'm convinced that you're going to see results. If you are ready to get more clear and confident about your art and want to take your art and your art business to a next level, then this Artist Success Guide is for you. Start by setting aside 1 hour for the next 7 days to complete the tasks and questions. They are specially designed to inspire and to gently but firmly nudge you to get more eyes on your art. If you want to receive the 7-day study guide, then go to www.soniasmallhere.com/artistsuccessguide. And tomorrow you will get your first worksheet in your inbox. If you're an artist and you're looking for more resources, then take a look at my website, as there are a variety of free resources available for you. If you want to receive them directly into your mailbox, then leave me your name and your email, and you'll be the first to receive my regular content with tips and tricks and inspiring artist stories. I'm really excited about next week's podcast. Next week you will hear the compelling story of Leonie E. Brown. She shares how art and the ability it gave her to express her emotions actually saved her life. Leonie is an award-winning South African artist, and in this episode she tells us more about what gets her painting every day and about an exciting commission she completed for a 6-star hotel in Namibia. So don't miss it. I know it'll inspire you. Well, that's all for this week. Don't forget to share this podcast or leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to this podcast. This makes the podcast more visible and will help other artists find it. Don't forget to download the free Artist Success Guide on my website. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, bye for now.